Yo, what is going on everyone? And today I wanted to talk to you about how Elden Ring Nightreign isn't actually as random as you may think. So if you didn't know, when you do load into a run of Nightreign, your world isn't as randomly generated as you may have first thought. This is because although it may seem so, not every landmark and POI you come across is as random as they first made out. And I'm not talking about simple information like there'll always be a castle here or one in the middle, blah 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 blah. I'm talking about how every single possible seed that you could possibly load into has already been compiled and created by the devs. Every time you load into a match, you will actually load into one of the possible 320 seeds. This breaks down into each boss has 40 possible seeds that you could potentially load into. For example, Healster will have 40 potential seeds, and Adele will have a different 40 potential seeds. The same goes for every single Night Lord. However, the enhanced boss fights will just share the seed with the normal boss fight. But the breaking down doesn't stop there, as you can actually break it down even further, as 20 of these seeds will just be for the base Limgrave without any shifting earths. And then this leaves us with the other 20 seeds, which will be divided amongst all the shifting earths such as Crater, Mountaintop, City, and that is 5 seeds per shifting earth. This will explain for you that run frequently on the same shifting earth against the same boss, coming across the same enemies, landmark, potentially one run after the other. You're not completely crazy, and it is because you loaded in to the exact same seed twice or potentially more in a row, which does make sense because let's say for example you're doing your free crater runs that you just purchased from the signboard and you are repeatedly attempting the same boss over and over, and you frequently do this, the odds are very high that you will eventually play the same seed more than once in a row, as it's only a 1 in 5 chance for the crater to be a different seed. A lot of players picked up on this as it was extremely evident when the first ever dark bosses were added to the game, as players were repeatedly taking on enhanced version of Adele because he was a lot more difficult than the majority of bosses in this game, in the hopes that they'll eventually get a run where they actually defeat him. And during this release window, people were realizing that they were getting the same seed over and over again. But before we go any further, to avoid confusion, I'm just going to quickly list the things that aren't random and are in fact decided before you load onto the seed. Starting off with the landmarks and their location on the map, the bosses within those landmarks, the Flask Church locations where you can get extra health, Evergoals and the bosses within are all decided, all the field bosses and great enemies, and finally the Night Lord bosses in Night 1 and 2 are also predetermined, even down to the location where these fights actually take place. However, the things that are completely random within each and every single seed, no matter if you're repeating the same one over and over again. Every loot drop, no matter the source, is completely random. This includes buffs, items, merchant offerings, all of those. The first circle is also surprisingly completely random, but it will always close to that preset area where you will fight the preset Night Lord. The second circle follows the same pattern to the first circle, and other than the loot and the first and second circle, not much else is random within your Nightreign expeditions. However, another interesting note is how the great enemies work on a map-to-map basis. The base map without any shifting earth will always have 5 great enemies. If you have the mountaintop active, this will also be 5. However, one of them will be replaced with the ice dragon that will challenge you in the mountaintops. If you have the crater or sharded city active, this number will go up to 7. And finally, and this is where you can find the most great enemies, this will be the rotted woods, as it takes this number up to 9. 6 of those will be found within the woods and the rest outside in the normal map. I wanted to make this video just to explain to those what is random and what isn't, and I do have another video coming out directly after this one that will cover how event raids work within Nightreign, as I'm sure after you watching this video you can tell that these also are not random. I will deep dive more into the numbers and where to find these events, and I'll show you how you can basically guarantee how to get them. So if you're interested in getting a Libra or Morgott raid every single time you play Nightreign, you can very easily do so. So if you're interested in that video, click the link on screen or down in the comments and description. And if you like no time wasting guides and informative videos like this, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.